Hello and welcome back to Tearaway Unfolded. This is Enchanted, and I'm speaking to you through a new microphone. One that I bought specifically for this channel because now it's got a pop filter, which should help my vocals sound a lot less rough. So, let us start on the Cavern area of Tearaway properly, as we see how it evolves and mechanics that it's introduced so far.
There you are! Oh, I thought I'd lost you both. Look where I've washed up. It's not right. I thought I'd never find out how this story ends. I tell you what though, there are loads of scraps down here, all headed in the same direction. I don't know what they're up to. They're not sticking to the script. I don't like it, but see what you can find out.
And so we shall, Green Man. We haven't seen him for a while, because this has been entirely the fortune teller's story. But we'll see what the Green Man has to say. Well, we've seen what the Green Man has to say, but now he's back. And it seems as though the fortune teller has lost control of her story somewhat. So let's redirect this pipe. Ignore him, her rather, because she is an annoying cyclist and don't want to have to carry her through this level. Yep, scraps hiding in the cupboards. We already know how to deal with them, hypnotise half of them, throw the other half into the other. And this game, I'm having a little bit of trouble getting them to run the walls, so I figured I'd go for a different tactic and have them just, there we go, supposed to throw them in the locker instead. Like a school bully. I'm going to keep this with me because I don't really know if it'll be much use. So this is there's some other cute little things in this area, some interesting little side quests and things. Like if we go over to this direction, we find an interesting little thing we can play around with. Now I'll play around with it briefly, but I won't complete it because it's something happens that makes it a little bit of a pain. So let's at least see what it is. Though you can probably tell from the little goalposts. Yes, if it weren't for this aspect of things, I might have tried to complete this side quest, but because it requires, every time we lose the football, it requires us to come all the way back over here where it spawns, and that is such a pain. Especially because of how chaotic this part of the game gets. So yeah, we need to try and get a goal against the squirrels in football. But of course that happened, and now the ball is out of reach. Now we have to go all the way back to where it spawns to pick it up again. But I'll play for now using the button instead, seeing if the button counts in any way. See what happens if we try and get the button in the goal. But yeah, it seems the game's not having it. Yeah, so that does nothing. So let's stop getting bullied by the squirrels and move on, shall we? I'm humiliated enough. Now the buttons are back, because of course the Oxford scraps have been stealing them, and it seems that the squirrel has found a cute little way of using them. So these buttons aren't really much used for anything right now except ammo, so let's use them to spin these around so we can move on to the game, shall we? Quite like these little spinny pipes are quite fun to shoot yourself around with. Well, the idea that the plants are a little parent and child pair, that's not how plants work, but it's a cute idea. So of course we need to make it go back up again, so let's get another piece of ammo, another little rock. There we go. Yeah, there's a few targets here. I think it's pretty clear what we need to do. Align the pipes. Deal with these guys. Honestly, I think we probably could actually ignore these guys. But I chose not to. Unfortunately though, hitting the stacks with the projectile doesn't actually knock the stack over, only rolling into it does that, which is a little bit annoying. Stop them from shooting bees by hypnotizing them and then hit them with a button. Clearly I'm getting better at the combat, although not enough to deal with that displaced gopher. And that scrap is very frustratingly placed, because it should have been placed basically in a position where you would have automatically landed on it. That would have been a lot more fun, but it didn't do that, which is a shame. So let's turn off these big pipes by doing the usual thing. I quite like how much more destructive the scraps are getting now as well. Like, things are just completely falling apart now because of what they're doing. Which is a neat way of showing that the scraps are no longer playing by the same rules they were before. Before they were just corrupting the landscape. Now they're actively doing so, like flooding it and ripping holes in it. Previously, even drilling it was relatively unintrusive. So we just need to follow them down that hole. Of course, I make a mistake here. The water's not shallow enough to walk across, so let's find another way around, shall we? And of course we get all the way back here, which is a little bit annoying. I hate that sometimes the checkpoints kind of put you a bit further back, because it just kind of feels like busy work to get back here. But here's the route we need to take. There's a little glue trap. So they realise they need a bit of expertise as well as the actual raw materials. That's not good. And one thing I quite like with these little cutscenes is the buttons are independent of the cutscenes, while everything else is frozen. The buttons aren't. We'll see that come into use later on, but it's just a fun little thing. Of course, there's actually a way we can get we could have got a photo of that guy had he not killed himself immediately. That's a little annoying. But yeah, there are photos of enemies you can get as well, only occasionally, but that's fairly interesting. It makes those particular photos quite tricky to get, though. So, time to make a little fire. I, of course, make a mistake of using black and then try and kind of style it out. It's like, okay, cool, a black flame can work. It can be pretty cool. It's a very kind of fantasy sort of thing, but black flame's kind of fine. It's a bit like, so yeah, I just style it out and go, that's fine. And here we're about to see a new mechanic with the buttons, these grey buttons, which works slightly differently. You have to hold down the button to keep them up active, which means certain things you can't do on them. Here's another mistake I make with not really realising quite where to go, and I get a bit stuck in this little box, which is very annoying. It's something that the game sometimes does, where if you go in the wrong position, you can get really badly stuck. And that can be quite frustrating, because that's one of the main flaws of this game, is sometimes it kind of doesn't really sanity check what it's trying to let you do. But now to go the right way, the obvious path. And that's how far I would have taken the gopher. At least we got our wind back from the scientists. So yeah, I thought that was doing something with the pipes, then I noticed it was spinning this big razor blade. Yeah, I kind of underestimated my jumping ability here. We can actually quite easily make this jump. Boop. And up here, we just need to time the jump so that we can actually get past the button, because it's really just a matter of jumping the gap. The button will go away as we jump. It's not as complicated as it seems, but sometimes those kind of moments can psych you out. I also quite like that these circles kind of force you into a rolling position as well, so sometimes the buttons it's asking you to press can kind of like change how you're moving, and that's quite a clever way of playing with the mechanics. Like whenever the circles need to be depressed, we are always going to be rolling while doing the platforming there, so we have to be quite careful when it asks us to do that. And here we have to form a bridge using a bunch of the buttons that we have access to, which is quite a clever little puzzle. A little tricky when you're not quite working, when you're not quite pressing the right stuff at the right time, and it kind of throws me off a little bit. But it's quite a cute little puzzle. I quite like how they use the buttons here to kind of like get you used to the idea of holding buttons versus pressing them. And of course, when we go into the X, that way we can't actually jump. We could only walk to the circle. If I had my finger in the right position to move from X to circle, but because it was still kind of around the square, I wasn't really able to. But I get across. And here's another thing why I severely overestimate what the game's asking me to do. It's not actually going for that little thing on the right. The rail is actually to our south, as you can see there. So let's actually notice that and get to the rail, shall we? And this is quite a cute little thing. It's of course a return to this mechanic, where we're now rolling out of control. But of course it's a little bit trickier this time. Now we need to time it a bit more carefully, because there are times where we need it to be out and there are times where we need it to be in. And sometimes you have to do this and do both. And sometimes we need to use the buttons to get rid of scraps, like this and this. And yeah, here I completely messed up that bit. Completely got psyched out by the square button there. I didn't get to push anything. The square button there is just to get those bits of confetti. Let's just roll on by, shall we? And here again, I don't notice that the square button track is another switch track one. I quite like that they're kind of reminding you of the buttons and giving you little ways of playing with them that are different to how they were before, because it's kind of showing that things are about to get quite a bit more complicated. Yep, and the scraps have become scary enough that the scientists have started to hide from them actively. Because before they were just kind of behind screens and watching from a distance. Now they're kind of trapped in the same realm as the scraps, and they're in a bit more danger now. Yep, we have a drum here that can just boing everything off the side, including ourselves, but at least we got some confetti for doing that, so it wasn't completely pointless. So it's the usual thing of just hypnotising them onto the hazard and bouncing them off, because it's always quite fun to do that. You guys too, onto the drum, boink! And yeah, this time they come through these tubes. Quite like the little pirate ships as well, it's quite a cute little touch, little sailboats. The scraps have a vibe, and they're going all in on it. So you have to be kind of careful of the wind here, because you can only move while this is bulged out. And here's a quite clever little thing. We can't press X to jump, so we have to use the drum to jump. Which is a fun little combination of mechanics there. Things are getting a bit more complicated now. And here's our reunion with Friendy, the Wendigo. Well, I guess we could call him the Friendigo. If I'd remembered that's what those were called instead of Yetis, I might have called them Friendigo, but I didn't think of it till now. But of course, that's where we come from. That's where we get the phrase "the spirit de l'escalier," which is of course French for the spirits at the bottom of the staircase, or the spirit of the staircase. Because the whole idea of that phrase is that it's the feeling you get where, like, the time it takes you to get that feeling is about the time it takes you to walk down a staircase. So it's like you had a conversation, and then as you get to the bottom of the staircase, you realise something witty you could have said but didn't. That's why it's called the spirit of the staircase in French. It's about that time frame. It's always that, like, 20 seconds or so when something just perfectly hits you. It's quite a cute phrase. I'm quite a fan of that one. Of course, here we have these scraps interrupting us trying to rescue our Yeti, or Wendigo friend, by spawning quite a bit. But then every time the little fan comes back, but then of course the fan keeps going away, which is quite annoying. We'll have to do something about that. I'll have to try and stop them spawning entirely. I wonder how we'll manage to do that. I like the whole, like, winding the Wendigo down in the cage as well. It's a cute little mechanic. And of course now we have a light panel. So let's see what happens when we activate it. They dropped the lab. They should have known what they were doing. That was entirely their own fault. And of course now the Wendigo video is starting to play. They're now too scared to spawn. Because of course the scraps are afraid of the Wendigos. Like anyone should be, because they are quite terrifying if you're not on their side. I have a little hug as well. The Wendigo's adorable. At least the baby one anyway. So let's get them away from their mother's video and get over to nibbling the rocks. Clever, but they seem to have forgotten what our friend's main gimmick is. Let's get rid of them first. So that's what I mean as well. With the square button, I was able to push that while the cutscene was happening and just shunt those little guys off the ledge prematurely, which is always fun. Also, it seems like the scraps aren't that good at construction. They're getting better, but the results aren't consistent. They're kind of a mess. So let's get in that fortress, shall we? We have Friendigo as all ammo, so let's throw them at things. And also we have a scrap-eating clam over there. They're trying to whip out with a tongue if you get too near it as well, so be careful. Those are not friendly. They are dangerous, just as dangerous as they are to us. They're just as dangerous to us for that as they are to the scraps. This is fun as well. If you press X here, it squishes them. But of course I pressed X at just the wrong time, because of course to get that present, we'd have needed to wait till that X was a bit further along on the screen. I messed that up. Because if we had waited, that X would have been right by the ledge, and we could have used it to jump up there, but now it's just a little too far. Let's just move on, shall we? So yeah, some of these puzzles are starting to get kind of more one and done, which is a little bit frustrating in these kind of games when you have a puzzle that you have to completely restart the level to actually solve. So yeah, here I made a mistake of stopping the recording here because I thought the level was going to go a lot longer than it did. So I'm just stitching these videos together here to kind of complete the level in one video, because I genuinely thought there was a lot more of the cavern to go. Let's just pretend that didn't happen, shall we? This is all one big video, and no one can say otherwise. That button looks a bit different. I wonder what that means. So obviously we need to use our Wendigo friends to get past these obstacles. So let's get their attention. There we go. Come on. Over to the pressure plate. Boop. And off and on again. This cute little puzzle, that really. Now let's get them in the little tube to get them back to where we are. Now they seem to be having a bit of trouble following us, so we have to just kind of take things into our own hands and simply lob them at the rock. Well, the plants are talking to us as well. It's a cute little bit of characterization. That they actually have any characterization to begin with, apart from just being characters. But yeah, these these are combination buttons. We have to use X and then turn the thing with L2 to actually open the cage, which is a cool little addition. I quite like how they're kind of combining buttons now as well, in cute little ways like that. In ways that are fairly logical as well. For some reason, but yeah, now we have a Wendigo who's helping us trash all these scraps. Which is very fun, just luring them into the Wendigo and having them just get bodied. Problem is though, it's not just them to get bodied by it. And now mother and baby are reunited. Yay! We've got a little heart project, portrait. A heart portrait over there now. And here we are into the level. So, as we hit that storybook and begin the final level,
maybe this is where they're all hiding.
We'll find out what they're actually doing with these buttons and scientists. So, I will see you next time. Please remember to like and subscribe and share the video. And add a comment as well if you have anything interesting to say. And I hope you've enjoyed my new video with my new microphone. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.